Welcome everyone to this month's Kimball Talk. I'm really excited to hear from brother Jason Rogers from Phi Beta. But before we do, of course, I have my usual announcements. First off, the same announcement for every month. Please, if you have not done so recently, please visit KDR.com to update your contact information. This is really important for us to keep in contact with you, for you to be in touch with all the great things that we're doing and to stay informed of things like this that you may want to be a part of. So it's really easy. Just go to KDR.com/mykdr and you can look at your profile and update it with your current contact information so we can keep in touch with you. For those who are in undergrad, who are undergrad brothers who are looking for an internship, we do have an opportunity for you to work with the national office. We are looking for an intern for the national office. So if you're an undergrad brother interested in social media, a little bit more about behind the scenes work that we do, you're looking for a really great opportunity to work with me, Lauren, Irving, Shelby, Joe, all of us great people here at the national office. Please let us know. We'd like to hear from you. You can email your cover letter and resume to Janet in the national office at jcagnetti@kdr.com. Information is also on our Instagram if you need that as well. The last announcement is our next Kimball Talk on April 29th will be our last talk for this spring semester. We're going to take a few months off in the summer to kind of focus on our Summer Leadership Academy, things like that, other great things, and prepare for our next Kimball Talk in the fall. So first, if you are interested in doing a Kimball Talk or you know a really cool brother with a really cool job who would like to share his experience with us for the Kimball Talks in the fall, please let me know. My email is bfield@kdr.com. Or, please take a look at our YouTube page and, catch up on all the latest, the previous Kimball Talks that we've had this past semester. And in the past, I guess this whole past year. Ooh, time flies.
Doesn't feel like a year, doesn't it?
It really does. It's kind of this weird time warp. You can find those on YouTube, just youtube.com/KDR National to find our YouTube page, and they're all right there. So again, more housekeeping. Please make sure throughout this talk that your mic is on mute. And if you have any questions for Jason, please put them in the chat below. We will have a Q&A section at the very end where I'll be moderating a Q&A with Jason. So let me pull up my intro here. Now, I would like to introduce this month's Kimball Talk speaker. Brother Jason Rogers graduated in 2012 and is an alumnus of the Phi Beta chapter at the College of William & Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia. He works as a sports reporter and television analyst in Washington, D.C., covering the National Hockey League and the NHL's Washington Capitals for Washington City Paper, as well as hosting the pre- and post-game shows before and after Capitals games on NBC Sports Washington. Jason has been featured on Yahoo Sports, SB Nation, DC-ist, and has covered the Stanley Cup Finals as a credentialed member of the media, all despite having majored in philosophy in college. Brother Rogers is married and currently lives in Alexandria, Virginia. And without further ado, I pass the mic over to Brother Jason Rogers. Thank you so much, Jason, for being with us tonight.
Brian, thank you so much, man. That was genuinely an impressive run through of announcements. I feel like you could teach me a lot, and we're going to have to connect about that after, because that was very good, man.
Thank you so much. Coming from you, that's great. Thank you.
I do have to say that the whole despite majoring in philosophy, that's not just Brian frying me. I did write that, so it's not just him taking like a pot shot at me as he's introducing me. And I see that Joe Rowe is, of course, talking about the Flyers. We'll get to that later, Joe. But yeah, Brian, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you so much for having me. This is genuinely an honor, genuinely a joy to get to talk about KDR and talk about something that has been just a really a wonderful, beneficial thing in my life, and something that I think if you had asked me when I was an undergrad, is this something that would, stick in my life like this, or even before that, I wouldn't have had, a super clear answer. And so I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity to get to kind of share that perspective of just what that's been like. And my goals for this talk, are sort of two or threefold. Basically, I'd love to just sort of share how I got involved in KDR, what my experience was as an undergrad in KDR, talk a bit about how that prepared me for this career and just sort of life in general, and what sort of skills and understandings that imparted to me and equipped me with, and really talk about how I got involved in the field of sports journalism. I understand that it is a field that a good amount of people, I think, are maybe interested in trying to break into. And Lord knows, I understand that it is tough as hell to break into. And so any sort of advice or wisdom or mistakes that I've made so that you need not make them, any sort of wisdom there that I can impart, just thrilled to do so. If I can help anybody sort of walk that walk, that's really my goal here. So yeah, just my name is Jason. I am the goofy guy in the chat here. I grew up in Northern Virginia. I attended the College of William and Mary, the Phi Beta chapter of KDR. Came into college in 2008, graduated in 2012. As we were discussing before this meeting began, I was born in 1990, which is bound to irritate some of our elder statesmen here in the here in the call. But yeah, when I came into college, I think I had this idea of fraternity as red solo cups and debauchery and this, that, and the other. And I think if you had asked me, and people did ask me, do you see yourself as a fraternity man, as someone that would join a fraternity? I would have said, hell no, absolutely not. I was not, I was not that type of guy. Or what I perceived as that type of guy. I was sort of a dork, sort of, wasn't a partier or any of that. And on the eve of my enrolling at William and Mary, a friend of mine actually reached out to me who was at William and Mary before me. We had gone to the same high school. And she told me, she said, look, are you interested in rushing when you get to college? I said, absolutely not. She said, okay, if you change your mind, I highly encourage you to check out this fraternity called Kappa Delta Rho. Letters meant nothing to me. I mean, it was quite literally Greek to me. And I said, okay, sure, I'll remember this random string of 3 characters, thanks, but no thanks. And got to college, and freshman year, they had the Meet the Greeks sort of event. All of these picnic tables set out on the lawn. And I said, okay, fine, I'll go. Spoke to a couple different fraternities, and man, they wouldn't give me the time of day. I think they could smell that I was not the coolest person. They could just sense it, and just, it was every prototypical, stereotypical interaction with jerks. And just, they wouldn't give me the time of the day. Then I remembered those letters, Capital to Row, and I wandered over to the KDR table, and our senior tribune, our rush chair at the time, was there. And I started talking to him. And the thing that struck me was that he was asking me questions about myself. He was genuinely interested in getting to know me. And we struck up a conversation, and the difference was so stark, and the shattering of my notions of what a fraternity was and what a fraternity person was like, just really, really broke down. And it was such a revelation that I kept coming back. I kept talking to KDRs. I kept coming to events. That person, actually, her name is Kalila Jones. Some of you may or may not know her. She's now married to a KDR, so she clearly has good taste. But I that semester decided to rush. Came around to events, got my bid, and became a brother. And I ended up becoming senior tribune myself, becoming rush chair, because I think my experience was probably so typical for a lot of people that did not see themselves as a fraternity type of person. And I became an excellent ambassador for that. But I remember my spiel, my shtick, when I was talking to people talking to rushies about KDR. and they say, you know, what makes KDR different? Why KDR versus another fraternity? And the thing that I would always tell them, that was my absolute favorite thing about this fraternity, is somebody said, if someone were to ask you, Jason, what's the typical KDR like? And there's no answer for it. And I loved that. And to this day, I love that. My closest friends, my brothers in the fraternity, were young men that I would have never met. I would have never been friends with, not because we didn't have, that we were unable to connect, but because of in regular life, you don't seek out people different than you know, and that's a failing on the part of, on our part, on the part of society. But frankly, these are people that our paths wouldn't have crossed. And I think of, to this day, my best friends in the fraternity, just people from all different walks of life, different religions, different creeds, different skin colors, different beliefs about every single thing under the sun. But we were bonded by this love, by this brotherhood. And it taught me, and this sounds corny, but man, it taught me on a really deep level that these bonds that we can form, deep bonds, these bonds that we dare call brotherhood, with, like, sincerely and without winking and nodding, that we really call brotherhood, supersede the bull, man, supersede political differences, supersede skin color, supersede, you grew up on the West Coast in a hippie commune, and you grew up in Georgia on a farm, and you grew up in Brooklyn, you know, riding the train to school every day. And at the end of the day, you call me brother and I call you brother. And that's got to matter. That's got to matter nowadays. And I earnestly believe that it does. And that belief in that, in the efficacy of that, was shown to me by KDR. And I'm so grateful for that. You know, that we say honor super omnia, and we don't say it with a wink and a nod. We mean that. And I think when you're 18 to 21 years old and you've been thrust into the maelstrom of college life, and you are away from home for the first time often, everything in the world is telling you that cynicism and sarcasm and scoffing at earnestness, that's the way the world is. The world is just kind of a mean place, and nobody really believes in anything. And that's toxic. Like, that's no way to live one's life. And this organization and the men and women that I met in it, like, showed me that there was another way, that your heart could be postured. And that, I think, is one of the deeply resonant things that has stuck with me. And I credit, and I am deeply, deeply in gratitude to KDR for taking that seriously. Like, we have the Pathfinder, and we do these things. And I think to an 18-year-old, sorry, Joe Rowe, at times they feel a little corny, but I see now why we say them with a straight face and why we adhere to them. Because as a person grows up, and Lord willing, as a person matures, you start to have to decide what you're going to be about. And it's wicked easy to be about sarcasm, and it's super easy to be about cynicism. And it is the simplest, most comfortable thing in the world to not believe in jack. And people like that, I sympathize. I genuinely sympathize. But that wasn't going to be for me. And I'm really, really grateful to KDR for creating a culture and a path and an understanding where, look, you can be a person of honor, and you can do that and still have friends. You can do that and still enjoy life. But understand, it's not honor and nothing else. But it's, you better damn sure remember, honor above all things. And that really, really stuck in my heart and resonated with me. As Senior Tribune, just as a brother in general, like, being thrust into a meeting once a week with like 50 or 70 other people that didn't agree with me and came from totally different walks of life. It taught me a lot of really valuable skills that I translated well to the working world. And if there are any undergraduate brothers here, I don't really know because I don't know y'all. I'd love to get to know you one day. It really, like, it is the best preparation for the corporate world, for the working world, that you could possibly have. Like, if you are ever going to be a manager of people or work in a collaborative team setting, you're going to need to learn real quick how to get along with people that not only don't agree with you, but aren't working on the same set of understandings that you are. And you have to be able to bridge that and find common ground and understanding. KDR taught me that. It might have just been, hey, we need to find some common ground on how to host a mixer with Theta, or how we're gonna, ask out whatever sorority to homecoming. But that process of finding common ground, of working through disagreements, as a young person in your early 20s is so valuable. And I think at the time I was like, man, I hate these brother meetings. I hate, we're gonna adhere to Robert's rules and we're gonna do this, that, and the third. And I get now that in a corporate setting, whether you're a salesperson, whether you are, on a product team, whether you are a sports journalist, you're going to have to learn how to manage those different personalities. And you're going to have to learn that all of these different people are not going to agree. And that doesn't make any of them the antagonist in your life. It doesn't make any of them a worse person than you are. I quote C.S. Lewis a lot. C.S. Lewis said, I'm the worst person that I know. And I really, really believe that. You have to walk into every room believing that. And, just that KDR taught me that how to find common ground, how to find understandings, how to find situations that everyone with a stake in this can all win, even if we don't all get exactly what we wanted. And to any undergraduate brothers that are here, when you encounter those moments in brother meetings, in various decision-making processes, cherish that, right? And recognize it as it's happening. Don't let it piss you off, maybe just a little, but understand this is a learning experience that, man, life is like 90% people disagreeing with you. And that's okay. That's because life is 7 billion other earthlings that don't see what you see, and that's fine. But cherish those opportunities to learn that skill, to not hold it against people when they disagree with you, to try to help other people get what they are after at the same time that you are, and come to a collaborative understanding. Whether, like I said, whether that is how are we going to spend our social budget, whether that is, how voting on rushies to offer bids to, whatever. Man, it feels good to say those words again. I haven't thought about it in so long. Whatever that is, cherish those opportunities, because that's valuable. That is so, so valuable. And I say it from the heart when I say that I use that skill every single day of my life, and KDR taught me how to do that. So value that, cherish that. Don't dismiss that because it's hard. Lean into that, and you will be a better person for that, for those experiences that KDR has given you. And I really, really mean that. Like I to this day, I cling to that. I just want to super quick share a photo that I've got here for any undergraduate brothers or otherwise that I think is just kind of neat, talking about how, let me find it here. I think this is it. Tell me if y'all can see this. This is a picture from my wedding, and every single person in this photo, with the exception of my wife, is a brother of mine at KDR. And I think that when I rushed, and when things got tough, and when, the guy that lived down the hall from me in the frat house was being annoying and wouldn't, share his adult beverage with me or whatever. And, you think, oh, this person's a jerk. And as soon as I'm out of here, man, I'm never having anything to do with these people again. I consider it one of the greatest privileges and joys and blessings of my life that these brothers that I made at KDR are still in my life. They are still really, truly my closest friends, my closest friends. They were groomsmen in my wedding. They were there the day that I pledged my life to my wife. And I mean, look at this freaking picture, man. Like, look at this collective joy and them embracing this woman that I have given my life to and saying, you're one of us now. Like, I have this picture framed in my bedroom. It makes me so happy. And this is what we say. This is what we mean when we say that brotherhood is for life, that KDR is for life. It is if you want it to be. And just, it is such a joy. And I consider myself so blessed that I fell ass backwards into choosing so well in choosing KDR. So that's picture number one in my slideshow so far tonight. So shifting gears here just a little bit. This car is going to have a lot of gears. It's got a 6-speed. So went to college. As Brian said, I majored in philosophy because God bless my father. Like, my wife paid for her own college. I did not, because my dad did. And I think about it now, if my like punk son came to me and was like, hey dad, I'm going to major in philosophy. I'm like, okay, have fun paying for your degree then, because that's not going to get you anything. But so I majored in philosophy. It comes time to graduate. And I will say this, philosophy did not give me any real career paths that were clear to me beyond standing on the sidewalk with a sandwich board saying, "Will think for food," kind of thing. But it did teach me two very, very valuable skills. It taught me to write very, very clearly and well. And it taught me to express myself and to discern and break apart arguments very clearly and express them in turn very clearly. All things that if you intend to write for a career, whether that's journalism, whether that's sales, whether that's marketing, whether that is whatever, if you intend to write, this became a pitch for philosophy. It's a great degree for that. So, if I can talk to you about metaphysics and about, David Hume writing about whether or not God exists based on the empirical evidence of the universe, I can talk to you about the Washington Capitals power play. Like, that's just how it works. So I highly recommend that. But so I majored in philosophy, went to this fabulous school, spent 4 years majoring in philosophy. It still geeks me that my dad let me do that. Graduated, and surprising no one, I had very few employment prospects. And so I took what I thought was a fantastic job. It was, man, I don't even know what the euphemistic term was that they called it. It ended up being a sales job where we had a list of like 200 phone numbers, and our only metrics of success were how long were you on the phone each day, how many calls did you make. I was cold calling people, trying to get them to buy $1 million software, sight unseen, over the phone, and just getting hung up on all day, getting beat up. You probably get the impression that I'm a fairly bubbly person, and this was crushing me. It was killing me every single day. And so, to no one's surprise, I spent all day at my desk trying to escape from it by reading sports articles, by reading every sports blog I could. Whenever my boss would leave the room, I was just reading anything about hockey, anything about football, anything about basketball, anything I could that wasn't getting screamed at on the telephone because I was bothering people. And as a result, I got very, very familiar with the voice of certain blogs, with, okay, if I go to this site, to this publication, I'm going to get this kind of content. I could almost visualize it in my sleep. I knew what it was kind of going to sound like. And this applies to any website, any publication. It doesn't have to be sports. If you read anything long enough, you're going to get a feel for the voice of that place. And finally, because I was a philosophy major, I liked to write. I messed around with fiction in college, and but had never really done journalism or anything. But I was so damn bored and miserable that finally one day I was like, you know what? I feel like I could write this blog that I just read. And so I wrote a little 500-word blog, something about the Washington Capitals, because that was my favorite team at the time. It was whatever it was, it's 500 words. found and I tried to write it in the voice of the website that I was reading. And I found the editor's email address and I sent them an email and I said, hi, I'm Jason Rogers. I'm a big fan of the website. I'm an avid reader. I've written this article about XYZ, about the Capitals power play, whatever it was. If you like it, I don't need any money. Just feel free to run it if you like it. The only thing that I ask is that you give me a byline on the website, just a by Jason Rogers. If you don't like it, throw it in the trash. You'll never hear from me again. And praise the Lord, they ran it. And they were like, yeah, this is pretty good. Sure, why not? It's free. It's free. We'll run it. Why not? We need content. And so they published it. And that, man, that was so cool. Like, that was, even thinking about it now, that was so cool. And what that did was, the next time I reached out to that editor, they knew who I was. And I said, hey, I'm that guy that you published his blog before. I wrote something new. Would you like to run it? I said, yeah, sure, why not? We need content. And that kept going and that kept going and that kept going until eventually I had been published on this website enough. I had enough bylines. I had a link on my name that you could click to and see that I had written stuff before that I could write, that I was able to reach out to a slightly bigger blog, a blog with a little bit bigger readership, a little, instead of being micro regional, it was just regional, that kind of thing. And I could say, hey, I'm Jason Rogers. I'm nobody, but I've been published on this website. I know you know this website because you're sort of competitors. You're sort of in the same field. They thought, they trusted me. I ran it. Here's proof that I can do what I'm saying I'm doing. I've written this blog in your voice. Please feel free to run it if you like it. All I ask is a byline. If not, tell me to kick rocks. You'll never see me again. And they said, yeah, sure. We know that website. We've heard of them. If they vouch for you, sure. Why the hell not? And so they published it. And this continued and this continued, and it went on like that. And each time I would be able to get onto a slightly bigger site and get a byline with that website, it sort of kept going like that until eventually I was on a big enough website that people were reading that were in the industry, so to speak, editors at other places, until finally I had enough exposure doing that somebody reached out to me and was like, hey, Jason, we really like your voice. We think you'd be great for this. Would you like to write for us? And that was the first big change. Instead of me reaching out to people, for the first time, someone reached out to me. And that was super cool. Like, that was memorable. I am friends to this day with that first editor because he gave me my first shot, and I'm eternally grateful for that. So the lesson there, and this is what I tell anybody who is interested in breaking into this field in any sort of way. Don't reach out to anyone expecting them to give you a chance sight unseen. Reach out to them with something already completed, with something already written that they don't need to say, this is a character judgment. Do you seem like a real person? Are you a catfish? That sort of thing. Instead, say, look, here's a thing that I have written. It's already done. All you have to do is press publish if you like it. Take the steps out of it for them so that all they have to do is write it. Yes, that requires an investment of time up front by you that may not pay off. But that's life, folks. Like, that is what it's about, is I always tell people, when you're reaching out to a new site, to a new publication, don't say, hi, I'm Joe or Jane Schmo. I would love the opportunity to write something for you. They're going to tell you to go to hell. Tell them, look, I've written this. I'm familiar with their website. This is ready to rock if you want it. All you have to do is press publish if you're interested. That is my first biggest piece of advice, is you have to invest upfront of your time before someone will pay you for your time. So if you are like me, if you're working a job that you hate, or you are interested in doing something like that, when you reach out, have something ready to offer them. Don't just make them take a chance on you. Let them see the work, know what they're getting, and say yes or no. First big thing I would say. So I kept writing. Finally, someone was reaching out to me, getting to bigger and bigger websites with progressively larger publications, until finally I was at one that was big enough in the DC region that they were considered experts in the field. And someone from NBC Sports Washington, they had before the Washington Capitals, the NHL team, if anybody doesn't know, their games are televised on NBC Sports Washington. They have a big pregame show, a big postgame show. Any night the Capitals play, 3 hours on this cable channel before and after the game is dedicated to just bloviating about the Capitals, pontificating about the Capitals. And they had a show where people sat around the studio and said, hey, here's why I think the Capitals need to draft so-and-so, or here's why the goalie is playing like crap when I say the goalie's playing great. Just, you've seen 1,000 sports talk shows. That night, one of their guests, they had a rotating thing, guests, canceled. And they reached out to the website that I was at because it was something of an expert. I had gotten myself at a place where that website was something of an expert. And they said, hey, we need a panelist. Anybody from your site interested? And 6 or 7 people were like, no, that sounds terrifying. Television? I don't know how to do television. That sounds, all those people watching me? Absolutely not. I said, hell yes, absolutely. And I was just as scared as anybody else. But if you are going to offer me that chance, I am going to take it and eat it every single time, even if I fail. Because if you fail at an opportunity like that, I mean, first of all, people very rarely fail to the extent that they think they did or that they're going to. Like, you're your own worst critic. But secondly, opportunities like that don't come around super often, and better to stick your toe in that door and get your toe jammed in the door and still have that door be open than to not take it whatsoever. So I said, absolutely. I will go drive up to Maryland to the TV studio and do this tonight. And so I did. And it was fun. I had a blast. And I think I ended up being okay at it. Actually, they told me, so I didn't know it was supposed to be a casual show. I rolled up wearing a suit and everyone else was like in Caps jerseys and like whatever. And the first commercial, the director came up to me and she was like, Jason, next time, dress it down. Like, this is too much. So the next time I came back, I wore a hat. I still had a tie, but I wore a baseball cap. And that was me dressing it down. But that's my second piece of advice, is any opportunity that is clearly a step in the direction you want to go, say yes to it and figure out how you will do it later. There are 10,000 people better at what I do than me who have never gotten the opportunity. It's not because I'm better than them. It's because the opportunity, praise the Lord, came knocking on my door and I opened the door. And I know a lot of people who are better than me at what I do who have said, that sounds scary, or that sounds a little intimidating, or I don't know if I could do that. And they could do it better than me, but I'm the one who did it. And that's what matters. It's that whole Teddy Roosevelt quote about the man in the arena, and everyone's talking, you know what, we're all adults here, talking, you know what, about him in the arena. And it doesn't matter. It's the man in the arena sweating and failing and trying and striving that matters. And so I will tell you, if you ever get an opportunity in your career that you know for damn sure is the direction you want to go, and you're scared and you don't think you can do it, take it. Figure out how you're going to do it later, but take it. And it is better to do 70% of what you think you're capable of doing in that role than to forfeit 100% of it because you're like, well, that sounds scary. Like, it's opportunity. So opportunity came knocking, which was just happenstance. That was just luck. And then the boldness to step into that. Those are the two things that you need. And you can't control the opportunities coming to you, but damn if you can't control whether or not you're going to say yes to it. And so I highly recommend always saying yes. And, courage is not being scared. It's being scared and doing it anyway. And I'm a scaredy cat. And if I can be bold in that, then damn it, so can you. And so that's my second big piece of advice, is never say no to a career opportunity that you know is where you want to go. Yeah, so then that's how I got on the show, and I went for the first time, and it was fun. And it was so fun that they asked me back. Next time they didn't say, hey, do you have anyone at the site? They said, hey, is Jason free? Because we liked Jason and he did a good job and he was fun. And that kept going. And so they invited me back a few times. And whenever anyone would cancel, they knew that Jason would say yes. And so if somebody was scheduled and they couldn't do it, they'd give me a call. And man, if I was walking my dog or if I was cooking dinner, I guess the smoke alarm's going to go off because I'm dropping everything I'm doing and going to the TV studio. And they knew that they could. People have jobs to do, right? These schedulers, these producers, these directors, all their job is to make sure this show goes off smoothly. They don't really care who's on the show so long as they have a warm body there. And you have to think, you have to empathize. Okay, no one's going to give you an opportunity based on the goodness of their heart, really. They give you an opportunity if you are conducive, if it helps them succeed at their job, right? And so if this poor scheduling, her name is Amanda Zimmer. She's actually a friend of mine now. But if this poor scheduling woman, just some idiot canceled on her and she's like, oh man, I have 45 minutes to get somebody in here. She is going to love me if I say yes every time she calls. And if I help her do her job better, she's going to keep reaching out to me because she wants to do her job well. She wants her job to be a little bit easier. She wants one less thing to worry about. And if the solution is my stupid face, then I'm going to say yes every time. And I'm going to invest that time and bend over backwards to make it work. Just like you write something first, you invest that time, whether it pays off or not. Until your time is valuable, like in a meaningful way, it ain't. And so if my time is not valuable, fine, I'll be there. I'll be at the studio. I'll be wherever you need me, whenever you need me, until I become an asset to you, kind of thing. And so think about, that's my third piece of advice. Think about the people that are giving you opportunities. What does success look like in their job, in their role? And how can you help them do their job better or make their job one iota less stressful? If that's saying yes whenever the hell they call you, then that means you get to be on TV, and that's fun, right? And everybody wins. And all that costs you is burning the roast that you were working on, and that's okay. You can buy another roast, not a big deal. And so that progressed, and they kept calling me more and more because I was always available, until eventually they realized, wait, Jason, you're credentialed with this website. You're at the games as a reporter. We kind of we're looking to bring in a regular person at the games who, hi, I'm Jason, live at Verizon Center, talking about blah, blah, blah. You're already there. We've already got cameras there. It'd be super easy in my job if I could just make you that guy. Would you be willing to do that? Absolutely. And so that's how I got that, is because I was willing to do it, and I was there, and they knew that I was reliable. I don't even know if they thought I was good or not. They knew I was reliable. They knew I was a warm body that would be there, and that was enough. And that was enough for me to have an opportunity to learn and get better until I was good at what I did. Maybe I still don't know if I'm good at what I do, but whatever. And let me tell you something. I did this for 3 years, not making a cent. And by the grace of God, I had a job that I could do 9 to 5 that didn't interfere with this, because the games were always at night, and there were days where there would be practice in the morning and a game at night. I would be at the arena I'd be at the practice arena from 7 to 9. I'd work 9 to 5. I'd be at the TV studio 6 to midnight. And if I was lucky enough for them to ask me back the next day, I'd do it all again. And I would only get paid for that 9 to 5 for my real job. And there's been a big backlash recently against that type of thing. People saying, companies shouldn't pay you in exposure. Exposure is not payment. You need to stand up for yourself. And I'm going to say, maybe it is my privilege to say this. And if it is, then I'm choosing to exercise that privilege. But you have to be a realist. If you are not valuable to them, don't expect to have value to them. And that exposure has value to an extent, and be reasoned about it, and always be assessing. But if that exposure has value and is helping you get to where you want to be, exposure is damn good payment. If it's helping you get to where you want to be and helping you make a career out of it. And so just consider that. I would advise you to consider that. Don't roll over. Don't let anyone take advantage of you. But don't assume that someone's going to pay you as a nobody for something that 10,000 people would be in line for the chance to do for free. So I did this, you know, for free for a couple years until finally, his name is, oh my gosh. His name is Frank Casafulli, the, God bless him, general manager of NBC Sports Washington. He gave me a call and he said, Jason, we would like to bring you in because there's something I want to talk to you about. And actually, let me make sure, let me share the right thing on my screen here. I'm calling you in because we'd like to offer you a talent contract. And after 3 years of doing this for free, they brought me in and they paid me. And they put my name on a piece of paper that said NBC Universal, and it said talent and my name next to it. And there wasn't a lot of money, but they were paying me for it. And they had said, you're good enough that we value what you do, and we want to pay you to do it, and we want to give you a contract with NBC to do it. And you can see on my stupid face, like, you can't imagine the catharsis of having grinded and grinded and grinded for 3 years and getting just the validation of, we're not just letting you do this because you're the only schmuck stupid enough to do it for free. It's that we value what you do. And my mother has this photo framed in her house. And just, this was the payoff. And again, it wasn't even about the money. It was about what the money represented. And just, you'll forgive me if I share that photo because I'm extraordinarily proud of it. But yeah, so that's sort of how I got kind of into it. And just, I've gotten to do some really, really cool things. And I consider myself just the most blessed idiot walking around because I am sincerely a fool. And I've had to do, you know, I was a hockey fan first, a sports fan first. And I think that's why, to the extent that what I do resonates with anybody that watches or that reads, it's because I think they get that. Like, I'm one of them. I'm just some guy that got the chance to be on TV and talk to them about it. But I've gotten to do some really fun stuff. Like, let's see if I can share here. Here we go. I got to cover a Stanley Cup final in Washington, D.C. Like, if you are a hockey fan, I get to fry Joe Rowe here. This is a feeling he has not had in a long time because his Philadelphia Flyers are languishing in the basement of mediocrity. There, I said it, and he can't respond. I got to witness a Stanley Cup final in my home arena. I got to see on the ice that logo, and I got to be there working. I got to be there as a member of the media. I got to go into the locker room afterwards and talk to players. I got to go on TV and talk about it. And just that, it was, as a sports, at that point, it was 28 years of waiting for me, and it was worth every second of waiting. Let's see, what else? What other fun? Oh yeah. So, you know, you get to, in doing this job, you get to, like, you get to meet your idols. Like, this is a picture that I took. I get to go into the locker room, and this is Alex Ovechkin. I don't know, some of y'all have probably heard of him. He's arguably the greatest living hockey player, and, you know, people from Pennsylvania will be mad about that, but they're from Pennsylvania, so who cares? You know, I get to go into the locker room, and you get to know as human beings these people that are gods to a lot of people, and that's weird, and that's a conversation about idolatry and whatever. But, like, you get to go behind the curtain, and it's just, you learn that they're just regular people, and they're people that the career path they've chosen requires them to be world famous, and they find that just as strange as you do. And that's really been a fascinating look into celebrity for me. And when I first met these people, I was so starstruck and I couldn't speak. And now I don't get starstruck because I don't think celebrity is a cool thing anymore. Like, I admire their accomplishments and what they do, but, like, they're just people, like movie stars, athletes. They're just regular schmoes who go home. When they come to work in the morning, idiots like me stick a microphone in their face, and they think that's just as weird as you would. And it's just really an interesting look that these people that I grew up, this man is responsible for so many happy memories for me, and, like, so many pivotal memories for me. And I know him as just kind of a guy now. And that's really interesting. And when I stop and think about that, it's very surreal. Let's see here. Another super cool thing I got to do is I got to meet, this always sounds weird like it's a date. I got to meet the Stanley Cup, but not just that. I got to talk to the guy that keeps the Stanley Cup. There's a guy who travels everywhere with the Stanley Cup. And I got to talk to him about what that's like. And I just love this photo because what I love about this job is my job is primarily getting people to open up and talk to me and make them feel comfortable. And sometimes that's over a beer or two or three. And it's really fun. If you love people, I really, really recommend journalism just because you are fundamentally a storyteller. And if you value human beings, if you value the stories and the journeys of human beings, it's a great way to make money. It's a great way to make a living. Let's see here. What else we got for you? Oh yeah. And again, this is what I was saying. Like, I'm just a guy. I'm just a sports fan. And when the Capitals, before they won the Stanley Cup, the night before, the game before, they won the game to take a 3-1 lead in the series. And of course, you need 4 wins to win the Stanley Cup. And this is something that I had waited my entire childhood for, my entire adult for. All of a sudden, I'm on the cusp of it. And I had to go on television and act like a professional about the fact that everything I ever wanted was right there in front of me. And I could not keep it together. And you can see in this photo, literally, I am geeking out. And I heard them so I have them in my ear. And after they cut for me and they go back to the studio, I could hear the producers laughing in my ear going, man, this means so much to Jason. He's so excited. And so, this was just really, really a cool thing. And to get to share that passion, to be, to trade in joy, to peddle joy is a cool thing. And I think it's one of the things that I'm most grateful for about what I get to do. So yeah, so now basically, COVID has made things tough. They've scaled back a little bit, so I haven't been on TV in just a little bit, but I'm hoping to get back into that once they can let more than 5 people into the TV studio at once. Once they can let reporters into the locker room and have us gather around sweaty men and not have that not be a biohazard, basically. But it's cool because, like I said, it's you get a byline somewhere and that opens the next door, or whatever your career is, whether that's graphic design, whether that's whether you're a developer, a programmer, you get that opportunity and it opens the next one, it opens the next one. And so now that I've been with Washington City Paper, now that I've been on NBC, I'm having the opportunity to pitch stories in my other interests. And so I've been talking to the editors of Road and Track magazine because I love cars. And stories are stories, whether they're about sports or about cars or about whatever. If you can tell stories, you can you can move around. And so I've been talking to editors of Road and Track. I love to rock climb. And so I've been talking to people at climbing magazines. And it's all about just understanding those opportunities and using them to leverage new opportunities. But again, the only difference, I have said this so many times, my wife could probably quote it back to me. The only difference, and I don't consider myself a success, like by any means, but to the extent that I'm a success enough that Brian Field reached out to me to do this talk, I guess, the only difference between someone who has succeeded and someone who has not is the willingness to get your ass kicked and get up one more time and be told no and keep coming one more time, because you will hear no so many times. So I heard it for 3 years, and when you get that one yes, it transforms all of that just into prologue of a news story. And the only difference between success and failure is the willingness to keep coming back and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. You're never there's no such thing as an overnight success. I don't believe it. But if you are willing to lose in the pursuit of winning, then there's just absolutely no limit in what you can do. And I think that belief in something nobler, that belief in the inherent worthiness of effort, the inherent worthiness of giving something your best, that was vulcanized and for me with KDR, and that KDR taught me it is not silly to care. It is not a fool's errand, even if the whole world is telling you, man, I can't believe you actually think that you can do X, Y, Z, or you actually think the world is such that it's not just a dour, sad place that everyone is out to get you. Maybe they are out to get you, but who cares? We're all going to die in 70 years anyway. May as well live with passion while you're doing it. And KDR, I think, is the organization that galvanized that for me. And to that extent, I am genuinely grateful. I am genuinely, from the bottom of my fool's heart, grateful. And I'm a better man to the extent that I'm a good or a crappy man these days. I am what I am. Ended up quoting Popeye. Sure, why not? Because of KDR. And I am so grateful to that organization, to my friend who hit me up when I was a senior in high school and was like, yo, when you get to William and Mary, check out KDR. Yeah, I'm just so grateful, and really, really grateful to Brian and to everyone who gave me this opportunity to talk to y'all, because this has been a wonderful organization in my life, and I owe a lot to it, and I'm grateful to the folks that enabled that. KDR is my spinach, Bill. It is. I'm strong in the finish because I eat my KDR spinach.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jason. I don't know how to, I really don't know how to follow that up. Part hockey, sports caster to part motivational speaker, I guess. Thank you. Thank you so much. And again, who knew you'd be ending with Popeye? So
it had to be.
Right. So we do have a moment to kind of do some Q&As. The comment section has been popping off throughout this entire thing with really great comments and commentary throughout your thing. I'll send them to you at the end, Jason, so you can read them.
Yeah.
First, you had some words to share about Joe's choice in team. So I would like to ask Joe if you would like to rebuttal, if that's the opportunity he would like to take.
Give it to me, Joe.
There's nothing to give. The Flyers suck right now.
I mean, I will say this. I respect the suffering. I respect the long-suffering fans, because I myself was one until just about 3 years ago when they won. So there is nobility in the struggle. I'll give you that.
I've seen two in my lifetime, so I'm fine.
That's true. You got that to bank. You're already winning.
I'm not that old yet. Although they are 4-9-1 for March. February they were much better.
Yikes.
But we'll see.
Yikes.
So if you have a question for Jason, you can put it in the chat and I will kind of read it to him, or you can raise your hand in the Zoom raise your hand function and I'll call on you and you can ask it yourself.
I forgot Zoom had a raise hand function. I thought you were calling this the Zoom raise hand function, but that's not necessary to call it that.
You can also do that. I take all of it. The first question I have from Monroe McBride says, Jason, what is your day job? You mentioned a couple of times that you have a job and then you kind of jump to TV land. What is your day job?
Yeah, so my day job, the thing that pays some of my bills is marketing writing. And so companies like Google, companies like, I don't know if it's probably fine to name drop them, but I won't, but Google's a big one. Basically anything companies need with words, if they need help telling their story and communicating what it is that they do, they ask me to put it in words for them, basically. So I'm a copywriter for big and small companies like that. So it's all the same skill set. It's all taking very complex product roadmaps or various go-to-market strategies and distilling them down to a way that is for lay people and expressing them that way. So it's all the same skill set. It's not as fun as writing about hockey, but it pays the bills and it's exactly the same skill set.
Awesome. I think it's great to have this conversation about, people choosing majors, because, in my line of work, I often talk to students. It's like, I want this major because I want this job. And oftentimes, as you shared with us, it doesn't happen that way, right? I was a communication studies major. You were a philosophy major, and you learn different skills that can kind of translate to a lot of different things. So I think that was a great testament to that point.
What I tell people is that college teaches you how to think. It's not your major isn't about what you learned. It's about what it taught you how to do. And so for communications, right, it teaches you how to express, it teaches you how to organize, it teaches you how to manage a lot of different things. Philosophy taught me how to express myself very clearly, how to write, how to think critically and logically and separate the bull from the stuff that's core to what I'm talking about. And so when selecting a major or whatever, that's what I admonish people is, what is this teaching you how to do regardless of the industry? And I think that's, our colleges fail students in that it doesn't tell them that, because that's the real secret. It's not about the major. It's about what skills it taught you.
And again, tying it all back to KDR, I think we can all attest to the skills, the weird skills that we gather by being in a group every Sunday or whenever our meetings are, and arguing with each other, right? So I think you captured that very, very well. Brian Winters has a question. Jason, do producers encourage you to take controversial stances, or do you have creative license on the air? Do you get to say whatever you want?
I like that question. It's a two-parter. So at least in print, like in my written job for Washington City paper, anything you claim, you better be damn sure you can back it up and prove it. And that's why I get personally really defensive when people are like, fake news, and they're just, because like, I work for I'm not writing for the Washington Post. I'm writing just for Washington City paper, and every single thing I say gets fact checked 10,000 times. Even if I'm like, Alex Ovechkin had 6 goals tonight, they're like, prove it. Where did you find that? Like, it's everywhere. It's on ESPN. They're like, okay, well, you better prove it. So in writing, I have to be very careful. On television, I can't just be wielding a sledgehammer of slander and libel and just like, this guy's the devil because he plays for the other team. Like, I can't do that. I can express myself, and they want me to express myself, but I can't slander anybody. I can't say anything libelous. They have recently started to give me creative license to have fun and to be goofy. And I don't know if any of you saw Brian sent out a link in the emails to some clips of me on the air. And one of them, I was pitching this idea to my producer for literally a year, because I was looking around the NHL going, there's a lot of players that look like pirates. And that was funny to me. That was literally, it had nothing with hockey. I was just, there's a lot of players that look like pirates. That's weird. And I was like, what if we had a pirate index where we just, whoever the Capitals were playing that night, we went through and said, hey, these guys look the most like pirates. And we came up with a bit for that. And for months and months and months, he was like, Jason, no, Jason, no, Jason, no. And finally, one night he was like, all right, the show's not coming on until 10 p.m. They're playing a West Coast team. People are going to be asleep anyway. Let's do it. And it was so fun, and it got such a great reaction. And you're not going to get that license immediately when you're new, but once you've demonstrated, okay, I can do a button-down professional job, then they'll start to let you have a little fun. And so I'm at the point now where I can start to have a little fun. But as far as attacking people or making claims like that are clearly meant to be something more than just entertainment, you have to be, at least in the media, you have to be damn sure that you can back up what you're saying.
Yeah, I put the TV clips link in the chat section, so definitely take a look at it. I literally laughed out loud when I watched both of them. They're really good. They're really funny. One other question we have from Eric Kovitz. Where do you rate hockey players as athletes compared to football, basketball, and baseball players? Are hockey players the toughest?
So I will say that I think football players are the strongest and perhaps the best conditioned. I will say that basketball players have explosive athleticism that other sports don't have. I will say this about hockey players. They are the toughest. I will say that. I'll go out on that limb. Insofar as the amount they're willing to sacrifice, the physical pain they're willing to endure for a team victory, I have not seen in any other sport. Like, you talk to these guys, they're like, oh yeah, my ACL was torn, I had a broken foot, and my nose is broken, and I went off the ice and got 10 stitches. But everybody's pulling on the rope because it's all about the team. And like, that's ludicrous to me. And that is the expected norm. I will also say that a sport that requires you to have the dexterity of tennis and the strength of football and the accuracy and vision of basketball while dancing around on ice skates. There's something to be said for that. And I'm very wary of exposing my bias, but I'm of the opinion that if you're looking for an athletic spectacle and something that you're like, damn, that's impressive, and you just want some kinetic energy, some excitement, hockey's tough to beat. I didn't grow up initially a hockey fan. I became one in my early teens. And let me tell you, if you're on the fence about whether or not to start watching hockey, it is something to behold, and I really, really recommend it.
Nice.
I will say this about Alex Ovechkin really quick, who is at the highest level of the sport. My man is built like a mighty sequoia. He is like a redwood tree. He is not what you would imagine an athlete's body to look like. He's got no muscle definition anywhere on his body. I've seen this guy in a towel hundreds of times, and he is this wide around the middle of his body. He's not fat per se, but he's not ripped. He is just built like an oak tree. And that is how he is ridden to success. And it's really interesting. A lot of these hockey players, you walk in and they're like, oh, I feel really badly about that hamburger that I had earlier because this guy looks like an Adonis. But then you look at some of the guys that are at the top of their game and you're like, oh, that guy's looks like the guy I saw like driving the tow truck that picked me up the other day. That's interesting. So there's no perfect body for an athlete necessarily.
I've never been a sports fan or a hockey fan, but you sold it. I'm there as soon as we're able to.
I'll take you. We'll go to a game.
Please, let's do that. We'll have a part 2. Well, anyone last minute questions? Seeing none, I think we're good. Thank you so much, Jason. It was a real pleasure. I knew your story a little bit, but hearing it from you has been a true pleasure, and I can't wait to rewatch this again and to kind of chat with you more about it. But thank you so much for spending some time with us. Everyone else, our next Kimball Talk is in April. Our last Kimball Talk for the spring semester is the last Thursday of April 29th, I believe, at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can visit our YouTube page, youtube.com/KDR National, to kind of take a look at all of the Kimball Talks that you've missed. And again, thank you so much, Jason. And I hope you all have a good week, good month until I see you next time.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.